Crystal Calhoun with Made to Be Unique and another tutorial on the blur tool in spot healing found in Photoshop. So here I have a stock image of a lovely young lady. She does have some light wrinkles. So what I did was I used the blur, some light blur effects, and I'll show you how. This is the before and this is the after. Before and after. And you can just notice a little bit of her creases will be gone. And then also around her eyes is smoothed out and her forehead is smoothed out. Her eyes have less red eye than before. So I'll show you how. Here's the original. Drag it down, create a copy. I first went to the filter, the blur, and smart blur. And I just used a very light blur around. You can move these, try these out, and get different effects with them. So what I'd like to do is I would like to use the blur tool right here. I'm going to go over some of the areas like that, right around her creases. Just blend them in. Do some soft blending. And you can see up here I have 40 selected. I can try different sizes if I want to zoom in and fine tune, like around her eyes. Let's say I wanted to go around her eyes, I would select a smaller, and then I would just hold it down and blur it lightly and make these swishy strokes around her eyes like that. And it's just slowly going away. And I'm fine with slow because I want those fine details. So having brighter eyes will help her look a bit younger. Not to say that younger kids always have bright eyes, especially if they're on the computer too much. Okay, let's see around here. And we can also pay some attention to this area here. Just kind of blend it. Let's use a bigger. This can take some time to get it just right. I'm just showing you really quickly some of the process that I took to get the results that I first showed you, which was this. See, with the opacity down, and I'll show you why I make the opacity go down. And I go in the strokes where, like, I go down here, but if I'm going here, I'd go across. I do strokes across. I follow the shading basically, so that the shading, whether it's a shadow or a highlight, it flows well. Okay, zoom out. This is 100%. Okay, so here we are. That's the edited version, and that's the original. I think we're doing all right. Now the reason why on this one here I changed the opacity is because I don't want it to look too photoshopped, if at all. And so I reduced the opacity so it gets the original photo. Some of the creases go back in there, some of the freckles go back in there. If I reduce it all the way, then you see her completely. So I use the opacity a lot when I photo edit, so that it gives it a more realistic look. Because I don't want to erase all the realistic features, I just want to blend it and smooth it out. So here we go with the effect. We can make that a little higher if we want. And there we go. That's how you do a photo touch-up using the smart blur and also the blur tool. Pretty simple, but it takes a little time if you want it to look really good. Here's another photo that I've worked on. And this is the edited version. This is the original. So I did a lot of work around the eyes and the cheeks and the forehead. And I'll show you how. So here I did the smart blur. If you notice here on the first, when I dragged it and I created the new layer, I started off with the smart blur, much like I did for the young lady. Then I did some spot healing. Let me show you the spot healing tool. Let's hide that. I'm going to create a copy and I'm going to work on this background copy. So the spot healing tool is pretty wonderful. You'll need to use your keyboard and tab Alt. Actually, I'm going to make a larger size. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Wherever I'm going to focus on, I need to tab Alt. So let's say we'll focus on the forehead for now. I'm going to tab. Okay, that's where I'm going to be at. And I'm going to just kind of dot. I'm going to tap, tab, tap, tap. And notice this wrinkle is already starting to go away. See? And what it'll do is kind of copy the surrounding area of his skin, so it has some skin effects to it. And I'm just going to keep on tapping. I can drag this too, like that, but sometimes the dragging effect doesn't work very well. Sometimes it'll look very photoshopped if I drag, but that's actually coming across very nicely. And I want to blend it. Let's get a larger brush just to blend in the area. So that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Takes a lot of his wrinkles, forehead wrinkles out. And it needs to be known that I actually appreciate wrinkles and seeing a person and who they really are and the effects, but I also am intrigued by photo editing, and I can appreciate some photo editing techniques and photo touch-ups, but at the same time I don't want to lose the who the person is. You know what I mean? Okay. So I'm going to Alt down here because I want the color that's in this area. Oops, not at the same time. Alt and then tap. Oh, you notice that right there? See, I have a brush too big. Control Alt Z, and I do undo. I'm going to make a smaller brush. So I'm still in that area. I'm going to just tap, 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 tap. If I don't like what I did, Control Alt Z, and it comes back. Tap, tap, tap. See if I want to swipe. Let's see what happens when I swipe. That actually looks okay. Let's swipe down. That's too much. See, that looks crazy. Control Alt Z. And I actually did a little area here that I don't like. Let me go back a few steps. Well, maybe I did all right. Okay, so I'm going to Alt again, stay in the same area, swipe a little bit. And do some blending. Okay, if I want to do this over here on this side, again, I'm going to Alt. I'm over here in this direction, and I'm going to just kind of swipe around, and it will blend for me. I'm kind of going the circle of his eye. It doesn't give me the, when I do the swiping, if it doesn't give me what I want, then I'll just do the tapping instead. And it'll give me a better, smoother effect in my opinion. Okay. Then let's say we can do some little editing around here. So I'm going to Alt, I'm in that area, now I'm going to swipe. And that swipe didn't work out. Okay, yeah, that one's better. Yeah, that's really good. And let's say we want to take some of that sunken out. I'm going to alt right here close to his cheek and just swipe up a little bit. There we go. Very small swipes or tap. Whichever one gives me the results I want. Tap or swipe. Tap or swipe. Go over here, alt, and go down. There we go. And I don't want to take away too much of his smile crease, because then that would be very unrealistic. Okay, so you get the point. You're going and you're tapping a whole bunch. Oops, cancel. Alt and then drag. You can't alt and drag at the same time. That's what I was doing accidentally a few times there. So you alt where you want to work, close to the vicinity that you want to work in. I don't like that, what I just did over there. It's not very smooth. And then also you can use your blur tool, like I did for the other one, and blur it. And then when you feel good, compare it to the original. And what I usually do, like I said in the other one, I bring it down, the opacity, so it has more of the real effect. It has some of the texturing. There we go. So 60 to me is it feels good. So that's before and after. So those are some pretty good touch-ups. There was something else I added up here was some highlight in his forehead, because there was kind of an indent, see here, and I wanted to just put some highlight right there to kind of blend in this area, and I'll show you how I did that. So I used some shapes right here, the eclipse tool. I just went like that. I selected some of the lighter side of his forehead to get that color effect, and then filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I use this a lot. And right here, the radius, about that much, works for me. And then I did some effects to it. Here. I added some texture. Not that texture, or at least not that deep, but it is kind of a skin texture in a way, but I can make it, I can change it a little bit. And then also on the blending itself, I did, I believe, a lighten, yeah, like that, lighter color. And then the opacity, I brought that down, so like that. So over here, let's see what I got. I did a lighten, opacity 52, and then the texture, I used one of these other texture effects. That's what I did. The scale and the depth, you can see. Okay, and it came to that, and that's what I like. And I had another layer that was larger and more faded out, so I used a soft light on that one. Let me delete that. Okay, so that's what I have. And this was what I came up with just by spending some time on him with the spot healing and also the blur tool found here below the bucket. So give it a try, see what you can do.